All right. Welcome, welcome. I'm still doing a little bit of fine adjusting here. I think we are ready to go. We are live here on twitch.tv/Perry Von Vicious. As you can see, we are in Tinkercad. We're going to be doing some new design work today. Got a pretty cool concept of what I'm working on, and we're going to talk about that in just a second here. Before we get rolling too much. I am going to blow myself up into the big picture here. And real quick, just show a couple of the things that I'm going to be using today. I have, as always, my faithful, trustworthy digital micrometer. This is super useful. And yeah, a great investment. I had the cheap plastic one for a long time from Amazon. Worked just fine. Eventually, I think I just kind of beat it into the ground, so I invested in the all metal stainless steel one, and that one works really well. Hey, Rye, welcome. We're doing some fresh toy design, and I'm pretty excited here because I've got a great idea, and this is going to be a multi-part design that I believe we're going to end up selling as a little play set, and I'm really excited about it. Um, I'll kind of go over what the design is here because I think it's something really cool. I'm into retro toys in a huge way, and there is a company, a Japanese toy making company that I discovered a little while ago called Tomy or possibly Tommy. I'm not sure how they pronounce it. It's Tomy. They made some great stuff in the 80s, early 90s. They had robot toys that kind of functioned. They had a lot of wind up toys. They had one, it was a case and it had bowling pins on one end, and on the other end, you had a little wind up bowling ball, and you'd try to get it to walk down the lane. When the case opened, it was your bowling lane. Really cool stuff. But they made one playset that I don't have myself yet. I do intend to get it eventually. But I kind of want to make my own version of it, and I think I can. And it is this. It is the Tomy Wind Up Sumo Smash playset. It is a really unique and really cool concept. It comes with two wind up sumo wrestlers. One you can see in the packaging here. The other is inside of the carrying case here. This carrying case opens up, and when it opens up, it lays flat and has two little parts that attach onto it to make the sumo ring, the dohyo. And you have your two sumo wrestlers here. And of course, the idea is you and whoever you're playing with wind up the sumos. You let them go, and whoever gets knocked over or knocked out of the ring first loses. It's a great concept. I think it's so cool. And I think there's a way I can make something similar that we could have on the indie scene out here. And I'll get another. This is our sort of close up of what the sumos look like, the rikishi, if you will. Uh, Great little design. I like that their arms are posable, so you can try to figure out like what are the best poses to make them walk at each other to try to get a win. I don't think we're gonna end up doing that with ours though. Ours are gonna be a little simpler. Um, And of course, a wind-up toy is very complicated to make, but through the magic of the internet and everything being available to everyone all the time, I was able to procure for fairly cheap a bulk pack of wind-up toy blanks. These are the exact same walking mechanism as those little Rikishi, little sumo wrestlers, but with a blank top. And I'm going to design different tops that could go on here to transform one. Ob- Obviously, one will be transformed into me, and I'm thinking maybe the other one is maybe Rip, or there should be a Delmy one for sure, maybe a J Freddy or something. Um, Now I did temporarily toy with the idea that rather than 3D printing and painting anything to go on here, maybe the easier solution would have been to get a sticker made that would fit on here, a very cartoony sticker that would very obviously be whichever character. Um, I feel like I would be hard, even with a play set and a carrying case or anything like that. I would be hard pressed to feel justified in selling that. That feels a little, it feels cheap, it feels lazy. And I think having something 3D on there will be very cool to sort of make it a little figure. There's going to be a lot of trial and error in this. This isn't going to be a one and done stream where what I design here is ultimately what ends up being sold, almost certainly, because there's going to be issues with weight placement and how the piece moves. Hey, hey, Cody Brooks rolling in. And certainly throughout the course of the stream, I'm going to flash back and show what we're working on because it is such a cool idea. But looking at it, looking at the design of this, I think the place I want to start is the design of the carrying case that folds out. I really think that's where I want to start. Um, and I think mine's going to be a little simpler. I don't think it needs to fold out into the full, like this. I don't think it needs to be this big when you play with it. I think half of one of these, a square, because we wrestle in a square, the squared circle, will do. And I'm going to sort of give it the same. I want this ridge. There's sort of they use a stuffed sort of rice pillow almost that they pack into the dohyo. Um, I'm going to design something similar to go on ours. That way, there's a ridge that the character can be knocked out of because obviously pro wrestling isn't done by sumo rules, but a Royal Rumble is awfully close. So I believe what I'm designing right now, I'm probably going to refer to as the Grind Rumble playset, or possibly the Blitz Rumble playset. Maybe it's the Blitz Mother of All Scrambles playset, because rather than just a sumo match where you have two competitors, you could put a whole bunch of these guys in there if we end up with a whole bunch that we sell. Um, so that said, we're going to go ahead and hop into Tinkercad here, create a new design. Is it not wanting to? There we go. Create a new design. I'm going to go ahead and name this Rumble Playset V1. I always put a V1 because I end up changing the designs later. I like this more straight ahead view where things aren't. Maybe we'll keep it on this one for now. So what I wanna work on immediately is at least at first is our sort of carrying case. Now this is a complicated thing to make, um, but I think I have a design that's going to make it really easy because mine doesn't necessarily need to open and close the way that theirs did. I print with a different style of plastic. Hey, Nicka Beans, welcome. So I'm going to use my micrometer and just get an idea on what I think a why is it blinking at me? Oh, that's worrisome. All right. Just get an idea of about how big I think it should be, knowing that I also have limitations with my printing space. And I'm thinking if the top is about 130 millimeters, that to me looks pretty good. So we're going to start. We're going to bring a cube out here. And I do like the other view better. We're going to go ahead and say, you know what? Let's aim high. Let's say 140, and then we'll go 140 in the other direction as well. Mm. So I've got a little sniffles. It's allergy season, folks. I apologize. Maybe I do like this other view better. I don't know. I can't tell which view I like better until I'm really having to work with specific stuff here. Yeah, it's hard to tell which is kind of the better view. I guess I like this one better. All right, and then for height, I do want the toys to be able to be put inside there, and I won't know the exact sizes till I've designed the figures, but I have a vague idea of kind of how big I want them to be. So I'm gonna base it on that. So yeah, we'll call that about safe. We're gonna call that 61. Well, that's the interior. We want to go wider. We'll call it 65. 65 millimeters high. Nice tall space for the wrestlers to fall off of. There we go. All right. So this is I guess that would only be half of it though, right? Yeah. We'll say that that's going to be the size. Now again, I've been kind of toying with, do I design a hinge into it? Do I design a clasp into it? Or do I just buy some inexpensive ones, glue them in place later on? It's kind of hard to say. Some people have done sort of print in place hinges. My printers aren't really the type that work real well with that, so I'm probably not going to go with that methodology. Um, that said, we are going to just go ahead, Control D gives us a copy of that. And then I want to hold Shift and I want to take this whole thing down by about 5 millimeters. That way we've got a nice thick box there. I am going to then just go up one and then bring it down one. Then we'll turn it into a hole. Select all and group. And now we have the empty shell of the top of our thing. Now I'm going to go ahead and Control D, copy that whole thing, bring it over here. And now this one we can make shorter, and that'll be the underside. So let's go ahead and we're going to bring this way down. Trying to think if that's how I want to do that. I don't think it is. And delete that and take a different methodology because that evenly takes everything down. That'll make the lid part way too thin on that, and I feel like the plastic wouldn't hold up. So again, I'm going to Control D, slide it to the side. I'm going to ungroup that one, grab this. We're going to make that, let's call it, just get a look on my micrometer here. Truth be told, we could probably just make it flat. Yeah, let's do that. Let's not overcomplicate it. Let's go ahead and we're going to delete. Yeah. We're going to choose just that piece, delete that piece. And then we're going to take this whole thing and make it, I think 5 millimeters was the thickness I went on everything. We'll go a little thick. We'll make it 6. 6, why not? To make that 6. And that's going to be our lid piece. That can go out of the way for now. We're not going to, I wonder, you know what? That's the one we're going to print the ring on, I think. Yeah, that's going to be the move. So the empty box will move out of there. We'll put this guy in the middle. And for those just joining, I'll quickly review what it is we're even working on here. So I discovered a toy company from the 1980s, a Japanese toy company called Tomy, Tomy, and they have this great playset that I'm going to sort of recreate, but as myself and other wrestlers that I know. This is what it looked like. It was the wind up Sumo Smash playset. It has a little carrying case, and it comes with two wind up sumo wrestlers. And when you open the whole thing up, it looks like this, where you have your dohyo in the middle and your two wrestlers to fight. And as in sumo, if your character gets knocked over or knocked out of the ring, you lose. But in pro wrestling, those aren't the rules. So in our version, we're going with sort of Royal Rumble style, where you get knocked out, you lose. And I think that's going to be really fun to sort of play with. Um, so yeah, for this, I wanna sort of have a raised ridge going around this that will sort of emulate the edge of the dohyo. Not perfectly themed to pro wrestling, admittedly. Now, let's see. Can I? No. All right. Yeah, we'll come here. So we're gonna take our tube shape here. Let's real quick. Let's get our dimensions again. This is 140 by 140. So we're gonna real quick go. Okay, and we're gonna turn this guy 90. Now for the height on this, I'm actually going to, what I want to do is look at my wind up blank and sort of figure like what's the height the feet step up to, because you want it to be able to sort of step up and out and fall over out of the thing. So let's get a look here. I'm going to say at its max, we're looking at 8 millimeters. So let's call it 6. Let's say we really want like a 6 millimeter there, which means it'll be about half of this. So we're going to make this 12, and then we're also going to make this 12. Let's go ahead and increase the sides, make it very spherical. And then for the bevel, I do kind of want to bevel the ends a little bit because it'll make it feel a little bit maybe like ring ropes. I don't like how it bevels on here. All right, we're just gonna maybe actually, yeah, let's go like that. I think that's good. All right, let's get our front view, and we want to bring this down and then bring it over. Let's get our top view. Okay, there we go. That lines up really nice. And we can definitely go a little bit lower on that now that I have it zoomed in here. Go about to there, and then I'm even going to bring that down just a tiny bit. Just a tiny bit. All right, let's get our top view again, because now we're going to Control D, bring it all the way over and line it right up with the edge. Let's just make sure that's not poking out on either end. Good. I think that looks good. Now we're going to select both. Control D. Let's get our top view here. And then I'm going to rotate that 90 degrees. And that gives us our sort of raised edge there. And I don't mind these weird corners here. I'm actually going to put something there so that it looks a little different. I kind of want something in the way of like almost like a ring post in the corner, but I can't make ropes. They got to be able to fall out of the ring. So we got to be, I'm trying to go like combining aesthetics, but also like let's make this thing look right. So it's or function right, I should say. All right, so let's drop a cube in here. Bring it right up to the edge, and then we're going to bring this down to like just a little bit taller than the rest of that. Now let's go up top. Now I need to remember again, this is 11 wide. So we want to also go 11, and then let make this side 11 as well. And this is going to serve as our sort of our ring post. Now, what I want to do is come up here and go radius. And I'm gonna zoom way in on this guy so we can see what this does. When you increase the radius, it rounds your edges. I think that's much cooler. Feels more 80s toy to me. Um, so let's get our top view. And let's see if we can just, there we go. I did it again where I didn't show any of what I did. Well, that's fine. I do that every time I do one of these streams. All right, so that's sort of our corner ring post. I'm gonna get a nice top view here and we're gonna copy and paste. So Control D, we're gonna bring it right up. I'm gonna Control D both of those. Oh, no, Control Z. Select that one, Control D. And we're gonna bring it on over to that edge. That looks pretty good to me. Now what I want to do is I do want to put a handle on this so that the whole thing kind of works together. I think what I'm going to do for closing it, for closing the box is I'm going to buy some little bitty hinges and literally just glue them on because with the plastic here, some super glue on some hinges is really going to hold. And I think it'll look cool. You know, have something to sort of offset the color. So a little clasp and two hinges. But that does mean that we can put a little handle on this part. So let's go ahead and I can't make the handle too big because I have limited space on my print bed. Let's go ahead and zoom in there. Let's get a straight ahead top view. And now I'm just going to think through, I'm going to ungroup that piece because I want to make my handle with this, with the sphere. But it's like this, like a donut sphere. So let's go ahead and stretch this how we think it'll be good. Like, yeah, way out like that. And then let's see. Got to find exactly what we think is good here. That might be okay. That may work. Let's get our top view. I actually don't dislike that at all. I just got to see. Yeah, we need it to be thicker this away. Yeah, I think that's gonna be real nice as a little carrying handle. Okay. So let's go ahead and that looks centered enough. I'm going to go ahead and regroup this whole thing because having that empty space at the bottom means, yeah, that works perfectly. All right. Good, good, good. And I just need to check what are my dimensions here. Ah, that'll fit nicely on the print bed. That's what we want to see. Nice. That's good. Okay. So that's going to be our carrying case. We're going to call that, and we are going to rename this Rumble Playset Case. Oh, and you know what I'm going to do real quick? Ungroup that. I'm going to round the edges on this and give it a little bit of a play school feel. Let's just round the edges. And you know what? I'm gonna do the thing where I zoom in on it again so that you can see when I do this radius, it just just rounds the edges a little bit. I'm gonna do the same thing here. I'm just gonna, just a little bit of radius. Just a little. Gives everything sort of a soft feel. All right, so we need to group that piece. Then we need to group that piece. And that'll work. That'll be really nice. Um, I'll have to figure out what color we want to print that in when we do it. For now, I kind of think I should do them in two different colors, like the bottom and the top's like the ring. So like this would sort of be like a black. So for these, I try to do it as like a dark gray. And then this, I think if it's like a canvas, we sort of want like kind of an off-white or like a super light gray. Yeah, that's pretty good. So that'll work great, I think. All right, let's real quick flip this guy over. We're gonna come over and raise this one up. Let's get a top view. Zoom in here. Get everything good and lined up. And now we can kind of come down to where they meet. And that's going to be our little carrying case ring so that our little guys can have their little rumble match up there. And when you fall out of the ring, you lose. All right. That feels pretty good. I'm scanning around it to see when I do the thumbnail, what's going to be the view. All right. That looks good to me. All right. So now we're going to start a new design. And this is going to be for the actual figures. Now this is going to be a little tricky because Tinkercad's not always great for making organic shapes, but it is great at making dimensionally accurate shapes and doing that kind of design. And with our little wind-up guy, we need a piece that's going to fit over this, not interfere with the actual winder, and be kind of tight. I mean, I'm going to glue the pieces in place when we make it, but I want it to look right. So what we need to do is design a blank of this so that we can sort of design around it. So for that, I'm going to drop in our cylinder, and at the lowest point that I need to get to here, I measure 27.25 millimeters. So we're going to call that 27.5 if we can. I always give a little bit of leeway because when you're 3D printing, there's always a little bit of irregularities there. We're going to increase the number of sides so that it's nice and smooth. All right, and then for the height, this thing has to be at least 27 millimeters tall. All right. And then on one side, we've got a thing coming out here that we really can't interfere with. So I'm going to go ahead and bring in a fresh one of these. We're going to, let's see, call our safety area. Call it 6.5 millimeters. So and then it needs to be needs to be out 6, so call it 6.2. We're going to zoom way in. We're going to tilt that 90 degrees. Our side view here. There we go. Get it somewhere roughly in the middle. Doesn't need to be totally exact on our little model here. Again, this is just going to serve as our guide. And then this is going to need to come about there. Let's say, boop, just like that. And then there is a bigger piece after that that we can't interfere with, but we'll just try to not go much wider than that. Okay. So now we're going to group that. And that's going to be our guide for what we really can't mess with, right? That's this piece and this piece. What we design has to go over that. So we're going to end up actually probably using this as a cutout. Um, and we'll end up removing this. This will be the hollow portion of what we design for the actual guys. Now that said, it does give us sort of a vague what we need to work with. So let's start thinking through the shape of our characters and what we want. It's just going to be their upper half. We're just saying, like waist up, I think. So I kind of think what we do is we start with a cube. Yeah, I think we start with a cube. And I think what I'm going to try to do is design this the way I want it to look, and then we'll scale the whole piece up to go over that to make a sleeve of sorts. So if I'm designing a person, I'm making me, but we're going for, I want this cartoony, silly design. I like this look. This is such a cool look for this kind of toy. I also think the painting on it gets really simple. I mean, right? It couldn't be much easier to paint that. And moreover, I'm not going to have movable arms. I kind of want the arms to be built in. Um, let me find an example. Because there are toys where the arms are not an extension of the figure; they're sort of attached and molded in. Yeah, I think maybe just want to find an example of what I'm looking for here so I can keep it at the ready and sort of reference it. Oh, actually, maybe something not too far off from. What the heck? I'm going to bring over my research tab so we can all see. I'm sort of looking at some Keshi figures and things. So like this, where the arms are sort of like they have a gap in there, but we don't have to have that gap. We could have it sort of all be one piece. Um, Similarly, I noticed, where'd it go? There were some other little Keshis where the arms you see here on Kanikuman, his arms are sort of one piece with him. I like that as a design aesthetic for these because I don't want the print on these to be terribly complicated. I also want the painting on these to be really simplistic because, again, I love this character model. Very cool. All right, so let's come right here and let's say we do want to work with this. Let's go ahead and radius him up because to me he would have a radius of about him, right? You got to have soft corners on these things. And I don't think that all of the guys need to be QB. I think we can go a little bit more organic. Now, this is where it gets complicated. So I can rough out a figure on here and then take it into Blender and do like some really sort of fine work on it. But I kind of like the idea of a very simple design, not too far off from when we did the play school guys. I think that that's actually not a bad place to sort of aim for. Um, Boy, now that I say that, I almost wonder if I can steal from that design for these and just give them some arms. That might actually not be so bad, as long as we find ways to make the characters look correct. You know what I mean? Um, yeah, let's do that. I do think I want to stick with the square design though. So what I'm going to do now is I'm actually going to try to work a little bit in the sizing of what we want here. So I know I want it to be about that big enough to hide that entire cylinder inside it. So let's get a beneath view and see. So I like the idea of the whole thing hiding in here. I think that makes me feel very confident about it. So we're going to go with that for sort of our body size. I think I can actually make it a little bit shorter. Yeah, let's go a little bit shorter here. Let's come down to like here. Yeah, that feels good. Again, I'm going very stylized on this. Um, and what I do with this style and design may change. I may bring it into Blender and make it a little more fancy. Um, with the steps, I can make it really smooth. Yeah, let's do that. Do the same thing on the sphere. The sphere is going to be our guy's head. So let's go ahead and actually want to get the view on there. And then we're going to go ahead and bring this up. That's got to be bigger for sure. But I don't think it has to stay a perfect sphere. I think we can get a little oblong with it. We can definitely go up a little bit. Let's just sort of generally make that bigger. I think big is better here, actually. Yeah, as I'm looking at it, I think we want a nice big view on this. We want this guy's head to be big because I think that'll make it funnier. And the cartoon look is really what that's the goal for me. Something a little cartoony. All right. Now let's think through what we want for arms here. It's possible that I want to do something different with this. Well, that's all got to sort of stay like that. So that's okay. Yeah, let's go ahead and we're going to stick some arms on the side here that maybe come right up to the front. So for that, I think we'll actually build the arms out of spheres. The steps way up. Move this guy out of the way. Turn these sort of a fleshy color. Let's take a front view. Bring it in. Halfway-ish. Get a side view. I want to bring it back a ways. Bring it up. And then we're going to shrink the whole thing. about there, I think. Okay. And we're just making a copy of that. We're gonna lower it down, bring it forward a little, but I also want to change its shape, make it more of a first chunk of the arm here. Which also means it needs to rotate just a little. Maybe I even, yeah, maybe we bring it back to about there. Yeah, we'll make one, maybe it gets a little bit longer than that. A little bit more stout. Yeah, we'll go like that because then we're just gonna put a hand right here. For that, I'm gonna copy this guy again. Come down, and I kind of think the hand stays fully circular. Something a bit like that. And actually, I think this whole thing can stick out a little bit more. So we're going to pick all of those. And I want to go wider because we want this to be cartoony. You know what I mean? It's a little more phallic than I would hope for. We'll uh we'll correct that by adding some fingers or hands. And that's going to be real easy because we're sort of gonna we'll take this guy, we'll control D, and then I'm gonna go little. Something like that. That's somewhere like right there. And then we'll deselect, reselect, control D. We're just gonna put that about there. That's looking good. Do sort of the same thing here. I actually want these to overlap a bit. Again, sticking with that cartoony sort of play school aesthetic. And one more about there. And then to make sure that these don't look like paws, take this one and rotate it about to there. Bring it back a little. Here we go. Now there's his little grappler hands. That's what they call them, little grappler hands. And as I look at this, I think what I want to do is I want to make a copy of that, bring it way down to about here. We're gonna adjust this just a little bit. We're going to call this 39. Call this 39. Let's get a top view. And we're going to make those trunks, I think. That's going to be, we're going to consider that trunks. I didn't like the naked look. I didn't like the naked look. I like the idea that I can at least paint a trunks style here. I think we'll be able to make a Delmy and a girl version really, really easy by just taking the sort of trunks line here, and we'll add another set up here that'll just be colored like it's a top. A lot of these, if it's someone who wears a top, because most of the grind roster doesn't, where we all wrestle shirtless. So there's not much to be done. I'm just gonna leave it as is, not even draw any muscles in or anything. I don't think. I don't think it's really necessary. I mean, I could get crazy. We could do the indentation of like some very cartoony muscles here if we wanted. Now, what I am going to do is I'm going to come here. I'm going to select all of these parts of the arm, hit Control D, and then we're going to give it the flip ski. And then I'm going to bring it on over. We'll get a top view here. We just want to make these about even here. That seems about even to me. Maybe one more. One more. One more. I'm watching the fingers because that seems to be. I think that's a. Yeah, maybe it's there. Yeah, I think that's it. That's even on both sides. So there's our little. Okay, I'm actually really pleased with how this is coming out. I wasn't totally sure what my plan was originally, but I'm enjoying this. This is very funny and cool to me. All right. And then we just got to work on the head. We could put muscles on this guy, which could be kind of cool. Look, give him a little six pack above the trunk line. Let's make his trunks look like trunks. Maybe he wears blue trunks. No, maybe. All right. But for right now, I'm going to select all of those, and we're going to make all of that flesh colored because that's going to be how that prints. Great stuff. Yeah. I'm happy with this. This is going to be a neat dumb little toy, and that's all I've ever wanted. All right. So since we're making me first, the first thing I'm gonna do is I'm gonna rename this. Wind up wrestler blank. And I'm gonna take this and turn this into a negative. And that's gonna be that. Oh man, I'm psyched. I'm psyched with this as like a sort of prototype design. Again, for those who may just be joining, I've seen the numbers kind of bounce back and forth on the stream here. I'll go over what we're working on here. What you're seeing is I'm working on redesigning my own version of the 1980 Tomy Toys Wind Up Sumo Smash. This incredible little playset. But I'm doing it for pro wrestling, for the shows I wrestle on. And of course, the hardest part of this was having a wind-up toy base, but they do sell wind-up toy blanks online, so I was able to procure a large bag of these for very little money. So I've designed a carrying case, and now I'm working on the design of what will essentially be a cap that will go on this to turn it into myself or one of the other wrestlers that I work with. if this ends up coming out as well as I think it might, this could end up being one of the toys I'm most proud of because I love the idea of a play set. It's the reason I made the entryways before. All right, so let's go ahead and we are going to make a new design. And I'm going to copy all of this over into the new design because I'm going to need all of it. We're going to call this Wind Up Harry. This one's going to be me. I always start with myself first because I uh I like to work the kinks out on my own design. This is really cracking me up. All right. So I don't know that I really want to mold a lot of face. I think the face is mostly going to be painted. Um, Again, I'm sticking with sort of the design that the Sumo toys have. Now, it does appear that their eyebrows are molded in, and they do have a nose and some cheek shape. So I'll give a little bit of that, but I do want to keep this sort of geometric design that they've done here. So if I'm making a nose, I think I'm just sticking with a cylinder again, or not a cylinder, a sphere. Um, so I'm gonna just copy one that's already on the field here. Whoa, whoa. Let's go ahead and there we go. That's what I wanted. And I'm gonna make it significantly smaller. Again, I don't mind sticking with a very sort of cartoony look here. You know what I mean? All right, so let's bring it on up. I'm figuring dead middle is very cartoony. We'll have, eyes here and some hair going on and a beard. Need a lot of room for the beard on my character. I do want to change my settings for how much the movements go by. 'Cause I'd really like this to be like about there. Now let's just zoom out and get kind of a look here. If we think that that is enough, if it's unique looking enough, kind of maybe a little taller. Yeah, you know what? Let's go taller and let's lean it back a little. Give it a bit more of a nose kind of look. You know what I mean? There we go. Yeah. That's got a nose look to it. Now I could give nostrils and everything. I'm not gonna worry about all that. I mean, even just a sideways one is sometimes enough for nostrils, but again, I'm going very cartoony here. This is gonna have a little bit of a play school vibe to it. Hey, Mr. Man. Good to see you, my friend. Since you're just rolling in, I'll give the quick review of what we're doing because this figure will look a little strange. Um, Essentially, what I've created here, this sort of shadow stripy figure, is meant to represent this. It is a wind-up toy blank, and I have a large bag of them I've procured because I'm creating a version of myself and probably of maybe Rip Bison. I need two at least to start with. Um, to recreate this awesome 1980s toy set that I discovered, the Tomy Wind Up Sumo Smash playset. And I'm making it in a more pro wrestling style. So it's more of a Royal Rumble thing where I have made a carrying case, and when you fold the carrying case up, it's got a little ridge around the top edge. You put your two guys in and wind them up, and the first one to fall out loses. So it's Royal Rumble rules, and I think that'll be really cool to have at the merch table. Yeah, I figure this plane is very unsettling, but I'm trying to go sort of similar to the design of these sumo figures. Not exactly their design, but something similar. Because I like the look. It's got sort of a play school vibe. It's very retro. Um, so I'm trying to stay very simple in my design. I am probably going to mold up my own design of like a beard on my guy and hair, but I think I'm going to leave the eyes blank and just draw those on. Um, one of the difficulties with my look that I've ended up doing for pro wrestling is like painting a beard on a very small figure is a lot of very detailed, fine work, and that can be very frustrating because you have to get it just right. Now, if I didn't mold the beard on, I could just paint it where it belongs, and that's a lot easier. When I do mold it on, you have to, it's like coloring in the lines. You have to get it just right. So I'm going to work on the hair first because I'm a little apprehensive about doing too much in terms of adding the beard. So the hair, I have long hair that I keep down that I think can all be sort of one piece with this. Um, I just got to figure out how exactly I want to do that. 'Cause it can be complicated. I think maybe the thing to do is to hmm. Yeah, this is where you have to watch the wheels turn in real time in my head. I did it before in a way that for a play school version of myself that I think was a little bit too messy of a design. I didn't really end up loving it. And I can, something about the fleshiness and lack of facial features. Yeah, no, totally. You're absolutely right. It is a little creepy. Um, but I did make, in the style of the old, play school toys, which, oh, I grabbed a green one. That was a terrible choice. In the style of the old play school Little People, I did design a Little Perry, which is pretty good, but the hair design in particular, a little complicated to print. Not as easy as I would like. I will say that is another project that we have coming up where I have one of the old play school Little People cars with a bunch of the characters. So I designed myself little Perry's monster truck with his engine and his roll bar and his little monster truck tires that he can sit in. This is a rough draft. I need to come back to this because I think the tires need to be bigger. I don't think it feels as monster trucky as it could. It is nice and cartoony, which I love, but I also like that the scale is right. So at some point that'll be available on the merch table. That's been one I started on last winter and then I've just sat on. Um, but yeah, so let's go ahead and figure out how we want to do the hair on this guy. Yeah, 2 to 3 times bigger. I agree. I agree, Adam X67. Welcome, my friend. Since you've just rolled in, I'll also do another quick roundup of what we're working on here. If I flash back over here, we're in Tinkercad, and I have this sort of vague, weird-looking little wrestler guy. And we're designing him because I have these blanks for wind-up toys. And what you see in the corner there, that is that is the empty blank space I need for this. Thanks for hanging out, Mr. Man. Um, and so I'm designing sort of a cover that'll go on these that I can glue in place to make my own wind-up toys because I'm remaking my own version of the 1980s Tomy Toys Sumo Wind-Up Smash playset. So right now I'm working on the figure and it's a lot to think about. Designing how my hair goes on it, how involved I want it to be. I think I might just paint the beard on instead of molding it on. A molded on beard has been kind of a pain in the butt in the past. It's even harder to paint. Um, but the hair has to be 3D for sure. So I think what I want to do for the hair is I need like one design that's like a single strand that covers what I need here, and then I'm just gonna copy paste it around the figure's head. So let's see. I want to say that there is a feature in here where I can draw my own shape. Here it is. Take that, and what we want is something kind of like this. Something sort of like that. But we're definitely gonna fill it in. This is where it gets a little complicated. And this is a feature I haven't played with much, so it's going to be real interesting to see how it comes. Nightbot, transform into it. Nightbot, transform, shape of toaster. I'm just checking to see how that looks. Okay, cool. That is doing what I want. Good. Good, good, good. Thank you for helping out, Nightbot. Always appreciated. I, for one, welcome our computer overlords. All right, let's see how that looks. It's not bad. I think this is going to need to come forward more. I may have to redo this entirely once I have a better idea of what I'm looking at here. And then I want to fill this in because it needs to mold in with the piece that's already there. All right, I swear this is all going to make sense in just a sec here. All right, let's call that done. And let's just muck with this a little bit here. Which view do I have? Yeah, that's the one I want. Okay, let's 90. Then let's 90. Kind of looks like Nessie. I agree. And you know what? Maybe that's what I was going for. It's hard to say. Okay, so now I just want to come up to about the right height. We'll bring it forward to our guy. Down a scotch. Squish this. We got to squish it the other way. Okay. We'll bring it up to about where we want it. Then we're going to squish it on down to Perry height. We're going to squeeze it in if we can. Ooh, that's going to be tricky. Yeah, we need that back end to be less. Right. So eraser, we're going to come down here and cut a bunch of it off. Just like that. This is where it gets tricky. Next summer, Perry Von defends the grind against the lock. Oh, hey, get me to Scotland. Let's do it. I don't know how well I fight underwater. Wait, does Nessie come to me or do I go to Nessie? Like, I'm willing to try it either way. I just got to know what I'm in for. Okay. Let's say that's the shape we want. Now let's left this other view. And now let's make it big enough to do what we need. All right, yeah, this could work. This can work. All right, now we got to make it considerably more narrow. What's this do? No, no, no. That's not what we want. I do kind of wish that the edges were a little more rounded on this, but I'll take it. It's not so bad. Put a floating ring on Loch Ness. I've always wanted to do a floating ring match. That's like legitimately a thing that me and a bunch of the other wrestlers talk about. All right, so there's the hair. A little bit of a peppermint patty thing going on. I'm gonna actually shrink it back just a little bit. Go to about there. We're gonna make it a little bit tall. Can I bring the back in at all? Yeah, let's bring the back to like there. That's good. That's looking cartoony like I like. This whole thing is a tricky endeavor. See, never really cared for Peppermint Patty. She was always kind of a jerk to Charlie Brown. And again, most of them were. That's true, but I also like, kids will be kids, I guess. Kids are cruel. All right. Now is where we get to try out and see how this works. All right. So I want to Control D. Then I want to take and I want to go a little bit that way. And a little bit this way. And then we're going to just bring it to like there. And now let's see if we can just Control D, Control D, Control D. Okay, some of these are going to need to come in as we go. Yeah, some of these are going to need some fine tuning, which is okay. Okay, this is actually working pretty good. Control D. Get our top view again. We're going to rotate the next one just a bit. Shrink it in a little ways. Bring it on over. Oh, not that far. Maybe it needs to rotate a little bit less. Wow, hey now. It does. It needs to rotate just a, no, not you. This. Yeah, about there. Control D. Okay, then we're gonna make a few more. Now I'm actually gonna select a bunch of them at once. We'll kind of shrink them in all at once as best we can. Yeah, we're getting there. Bring that one in a little. And honestly, I think that's probably good for me. I've got a bad widow's peak, so this isn't so bad. All right, let's front now very carefully. I'm going to select just the hair. I'm going to deselect that original piece. Hit Control D. Then I'm going to flip that thing over. And then we're going to bring it to there. And we're going to see what we think of that. That might be Perry. Let's make it Perry's hair colored. Ooh, okay. It's really accentuating my widow's peak. Like, really. I actually think we could probably push it back a little. Let's go to about there and let's see what happens if I just bring it back a little. I don't think that's bad, and that's going to be real easy to paint. And I appreciate that. Let me tell you. I'm going to have to paint a beard in here, which won't be too hard. Just got to leave one little opening for a mouth and then paint some eyes on it, and that's Perry. Now, one thing I noticed on, and I'll read the chat. We'll see what the chat thinks. These guys, the eyebrows appear to be molded in. They appear to be 3D. They also have these big goofy ears. Do we emulate that? Do we put like some ears over here and some eyebrows? Or do we just stick with what we have? Cuz this ain't bad. Like this is a pretty solid start and I feel like if I do another one and just change the hairstyle a bit, we've kind of already got Rit Bison made as well. The other thing I could do, okay, paint them on. See, I don't think that that's a bad idea. I think painting them on is fine. The other thing I'm sort of thinking, I was joking earlier about molding on some like muscles. I don't necessarily think that it's a terrible idea. Like I've been a little back and forth on it, but should we just see if we put some on there and just see what it looks like what we think? Um, I'm literally thinking just like pecs and like abs. We can give it a shot, and if it's particularly terrible, which it could be, we'll take them off of there. So let's see. I think I want to do the abs first, and then we'll work on some pec muscles. So let's go ahead and we'll drop in. I guess the sphere is really for all these shapes kind of where I start. Bring the steps all the way up so that's nice and smooth. And now we just got to give it a shape that we like. So I'm going to say, hey, hey, hey. Something roughly like that, but then definitely we're going to come way back like that. Oh, okay. And then we're going to come back to like here and then about there and not what I wanted. I wanted to do something like this. Let's get that front view. And now we'll make a copy of him. Bring him over here-ish. I think they kind of gotta like meet in the middle. You know what I mean? Like they kind of need to like overlap a little. And then I think something like that. And then if we control D, we bring them up to like here-ish. And then we do it again. That's sort of our six pack. Sorry. It's just very funny to me. That's good stuff. I'm not against that. Let's make them flesh color and see if we still feel the same way. Yeah, yeah, we're definitely doing this now. Yeah, this is happening. Now let's see. From the side view, do we want the head more forward? If we go like that, do we think this guy's head belongs a little more here? I think it does. I think that's an improvement. All right, now I do have a theory on how I can make pec muscles that just won't look like boobies. You know what I mean? Um, what do we think of those dimensions for that six pack? Should that be bigger or is that I think that's good on this sort of cartoony design and then some pecs that kind of come in about here. Yeah. All right. So, what I want to do is take this and make it much smaller. Not that much smaller. Come up to about here or so. And then we're just gonna change the angle here just the littlest bit. I think will be all it needs is to come about there. And then from the top, I also want to try to think how does my own chest angle? I kind of want to just go like there. Yeah, I think that's kind of what we're after. And then bring it back until, ooh, that's tricky. All right. It's maybe something like that. We might have to make that angle a little more extreme or a little less. I can't tell. Actually, that might be good. It might be that it's too small. I can't. Again, I'm I'm figuring it out as we go here. Yeah, okay, we definitely need a bit stronger of an angle here because we want that top to sort of fade back and disappear. And then we definitely want the bottom to do the same. Oh boy, that's way too much. Okay, we're gonna do some undoing here. Gonna bring it forward a little. Let's see, do I need to give it more radius? No. Less radius? No. I actually think we're very close to what I'm after here. It's really just a matter of does it need to be bigger? See, that actually might be it. Let's just see what happens if I Control D, give it the flip, and then let's get a front view. And if we bring it to the middle, kind of want them both like about there. Do we think is that chest muscles? How are we looking? What do we think of this? Does he need nipples? Is nipples too much on a toy like this? My Should I say the word nipples on stream? It doesn't feel right. I do think part of it might be fixed if I make this radius slightly less. No, I kind of like it where it was. Adam NX67's just definitively nipples. Well, let's take a look at the Sumos. Do they have oh, they do have little nipples and little belly buttons. Look at that. Huh. You know what? Like sort of like what I said before. We'll we'll try. We'll give it one and see what we think. It might be too much. can't believe I'm doing this. All right. Side view. We're gonna make this super little. Let's get a front view here. Bring it to like here-ish. That's true. The Batman suit had nipples. I don't really ever think about that. I mean, I guess if they're just little bitty guys like that, and then we just sort of copy it on over to here. Those look about even. God, what a weird life. Let's see. That seems about even. They stick out too much? No, they're pretty minimal. Let's just see. Maybe we do back them up just a hair. It's, this is so weird. Yeah, I think that's about as definitively nipple as they should be. Looks cold. It's cold. Well, you ever been in a wrestling ring? It's cold in there. All right. And I think, right, what do we think? Do those muscles look good? Do we need to make them like bigger? Like, is this, I feel like that's all the indication of muscle we need on this funny little guy. Like, his arms are a little muscly. You know, we got that separation of the deltoid and I guess we sort of just gave him a forearm with no elbow, but that's fine. Completely ridiculous. I do kind of want to see if I stretch these just like that. Yeah, I think that actually looks a little bit better on those. Yeah, that looks pretty good. All right, what are we thinking? Are we thinking this looks pretty good? I think this looks pretty good. Now I'm gonna actually have to print out a test version of this because this is kind of great. All right, and let's see what happens if we drag our guy over here, our little interior blank. Well, that's looking, I think, pretty good. He looks a little, it looks like the legs may come out a little off center. I can't tell. You know what we gotta do? We gotta ungroup those. They still need to be holes. They need to be ungrouped so that I can get a look at this. Not that. Yeah, I guess that's pretty acceptable in terms of where it ended up there. I guess the whole body could sort of shrink in a little. We'll have to print it and see what it does. But boy, I am pleased with our little guy there. That's very cool. And again, I'll have to come back in here. I actually think I probably don't need to change anything for Rip Bison. I might put a headband on the, you know what? That's we're gonna make it right now. We're gonna make a Rip Bison right now because all he needs is a headband and it's Rip Bison. So let's go ahead and group this whole mess. It's gonna take just a second to come together there, and that'll give us all our openings and everything. Oh, you know what? That's going to take a second to catch up. Meantime, come back over to our blank. I do think this is a good one to start from for some other designs. I'm definitely going to steal a lot from the Perry one for lots of guys. Because, like, honestly, with the right color choices, this is also a Mike Skyros. This is a Rip Bison. Okay, I'm gonna ungroup him real quick, and we're gonna pick that and that, and they're just gonna get lowered a little because I want it to be like that. That's kind of how I think I want it to sit, right? Oh no, I guess it goes up a little more. What I need to do, wait, it's not that. What I need to do is stretch that and then bring it to like there. That's what I need. That is, oh yeah, that's gonna work. All right, let me hear it from the folks who are still there. What do we think? Is this looking good as our initial test Perry? I love that he's not going to take a ton of painting to finish up. I love that he's one solid piece, so printed in resin, it shouldn't break very easy. You can actually play with it. Um, yeah, boy, I may just get ambitious and run a test print of this off tonight because this looks really cool, and I'd love to be able to slap a quick assembly together and have a picture to go with this. All right, but for right now, because I'm gonna need a thumbnail. The trunk should be red. Oh, that's easy enough. That's you know what, for the sake of what do you think, maroon or like fire engine? Yeah, fire engine red's pretty good. Yeah, I think you're onto something there. Um, I do think when they're done, I like how there's a back that's just a square on these, because that means that when these are sold, guys can sign them. Bring a sort of fine point Sharpie and sign the back. So like I could sign mine, Rip could sign his. If we make one for Delmy, Delmy could sign hers. Yeah, I think this is a really cool idea. I'm really I don't know what I expected, but this came out really good. For those who weren't there at the beginning, I'm going to quickly show you. This is the carrying case that the whole set will come in. This is the playing field on the top. There's going to be a hinge that'll go right here and a little clasp that'll go right here so that the whole carrying case closes shut. And you'll wind up your guys and let them fight in here. Now, for now, because I've designed the parry, bring them over and I'm going to put them in the ring for the picture. This also gives me a good idea of like what kind of space we're working with. So like, yeah, you could have a singles of two guys fighting in here. You could have a tag of four guys fighting in here. First team to have someone fall out loses, or first or last team standing. But it's essentially Royal Rumble rules. You wind up your guys, you let them go, and whoever falls out first loses. I mean, really, you could probably fit up to 6 guys in there if you really squeezed them in, wind them up, and all let go at once. That could be really fun, and I think I'm gonna really enjoy making a bunch of guys for this. Right. Well, I'm gonna keep that up because I'm gonna need it for a thumbnail because this came out way better than I thought it would. For now, I'm gonna call that a stream, and I'm gonna run off a print of this tonight. I think I'm gonna really try to get a print of this done so that I can try popping it onto our little legs and see how it works. Hopefully, I'll be able to post a an update picture tomorrow. Keep your eyes on my Instagram, my Blue Sky, and my Twitter. For now, thank you all so much for hanging out, and I will catch you all next time, at least Monday, Monday at 8:30. Who knows? Could be one before then if I get ambitious. Take it easy.